I came to Madagascar for wildlife, but discovered a place that felt unchecked and experimental. And the further inland we travelled, the more alien it became. This island doesn't follow the same rules as everywhere else. Welcome to Madagascar. After a quick stop off in Paris, my journey continued to Antananarivo, Madagascar's capital. Antananarivo is a mouthful, so locals and travellers alike call it Tana. Tana is a city of steep hills, stacked and terraced like the rice fields that surround the urban tangle. The name Antananarivo means City of a Thousand Warriors, a reference to soldiers stationed to protect the hilltop palace. The French colonised from 1896 through 1960, shaping the city with stone buildings, staircases, rail links and ceremonial avenues cutting through the hilltop layout.
This is really tasty.
This is koba, peanuts, rice flour, banana and sugarcane, steamed into a dense and portable parcel of leaf. The treat is deeply associated with Tana and the highlands, just like Thanarama, a traditional Malagasy game of strategy.
Like this. So this one is this way.
Thanarama is said to have evolved from a game for nobility, honing patience and decision-making.
Stepping backward.
It's as much social ritual as friendly competition, and we had a go with torn mandarin peel and stones as game pieces.
Because there is like.
That's the National Football Stadium that boasts a capacity of 40,000 seats. The team is lovingly nicknamed the Bara, after the zebu cattle that appear on the Malagasy coat of arms, a symbol of strength. In 2019, they won through to the quarterfinals in the African Cup of Nations, a moment of national unity, and celebrated as an underdog success story. From a height, you can read the history of the city. The upper reaches, once home of royalty and palaces, cascade down to the middle city with its colonial buildings and civic life, spilling onto the lower city of markets, trade, and the rumbles of everyday life.
We see a second plant.
We caught glimpses of the controversial cable car project as we sat in the very traffic gridlock the cable car was designed to ease. In a country ravaged by power and water cuts and high poverty, the €150 million investment was perceived as elitist and out of touch with many of the locals. We are flying west and heading to Ifati, a coastal string of fishing villages and beaches, and a launching pad to explore the spiny forest, a dry, otherworldly landscape found nowhere else on Earth. The baobab tree, synonymous with Madagascar. Instantly recognisable for its bulging trunk and its confused anatomy, appearing as if it's been wrenched from its roots and shoved top first back into the earth. In this place of scarcity, the tree is a provider, swelling with water reserves, their fruit and leaves offering rich nourishment to desert inhabitants. I started my day at dawn, guided by trackers, on the search for the many endemic birds of the forest. A fully engrossing challenge. With bated breath and a sense of urgency, we scrambled over loose leaf litter, sand, and dragged through spiny bushes, swapping lenses like an infantryman does rifle magazines, in hopes of a glimpse of birds I didn't even know existed 10 minutes prior.
Wow.
This beauty is the long-tailed ground roller, skittering along the forest floor and using its long legs to hunt insects and lizards. The species is listed as vulnerable due to habitat loss, slash and burn agriculture, and predation by introduced rats. Its elusive nature and limited territory make it a prized sighting in the birding world. As the sun continued to rise, the birdsong increased, and Freddie relied as much on his ears as his eyes. Listen here for the ghostly whistle of the hook-billed vanger. What a great name. I've never been much of a birder. I'd framed this morning as a good morning walk with a bit of wildlife on the side. But the truth was, I'd really enjoyed it. We spent the rest of the morning admiring this harrier hawk, different species of koa, and a wander through the village. Later, whilst enjoying an afternoon drink, the slightest sway of this chameleon betrayed its presence. My first encounter with this icon of Madagascar. This specimen was conveniently right next to the Bara, and with its independently mobile eyes and 360-degree vision, would have had us pegged long before we had her spotted. Here's a word I learnt researching up chameleons. Zygodactylus, referencing that opposable toe structure suited to a tree-dwelling lifestyle.
Unbelievable.
We're heading back to the spiny forest to see the creatures of dusk and nighttime. This time in style, Zebu taxi.
Showed me lots of birds this morning.
Long-tailed ground roller and a sub-desert mizite.
And a koa?
The running koa, green-capped koa.
What will we maybe see tonight?
Night sportive, Peter sportive lemur and a grey-brown mouse lemur. And the lesser hedgehog tenrek.
Okay.
The grand boa.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe. Fingers crossed.
Now, if you see them at night, it's possible.
Yes.
Find it here.
Awesome. Thank you. So this tree here, Freddie told me they're called the Vaza tree. So Vaza means white. So foreigners, travellers, or you hear them call us Vazas. But it's, it's affectionate, it's light. And its skin or its bark flakes like the travellers, like the Vazas without sunscreen. Wow. So this one here is the oldest in the spiny forest, about 1,000 years old. I asked about these cuts or these shapes in the tree. They look a bit like mouths or eyes. Freddie said they've been cut so that people can climb up to get the fruits off. Well done. That's impressive.
Everything here is armed. Thorns instead of leaves, barely touched by rain, and parched by a relentless sun. 90% of its plant life is endemic, evolving here and living here alone. And to survive, plants have evolved extreme adaptations. This little guy here is the tree hole spider.
The baby one.
Ah, okay.
There's adult, it's a black color and the blue.
With combined efforts by government, NGOs, local communities and researchers, there are safeguards to protect the fragile spiny forest and its inhabitants. The afternoon delivered, with more chameleons, some common big-eyed snakes, and the critically endangered spider tortoise. Unfortunately, a regular capture in the illegal exotic pet trade. As the sun melted away, the night brigade started to appear, and we were on the search for my first lemur. Madagascar is home to over 100 species of lemur, and over my time in country, I'll see about a dozen of them. For someone who grew up comforted by nature documentaries, this was a really special moment. The Pettis sportive lemur, living in these inhospitable aloidine, the spiky octopus plant. These guys are desert survivors, with a specialised gut and slow metabolism ideal for low nutrient foliage, and getting most of their moisture from leaves. They spend almost all of their lives in these prickly trees, keeping them out of the constricting reach of this next creature of the night, the Madagascar ground boa. With some careful manoeuvring, and with the snake illuminated by torchlight, I'm lying about 2 feet in front of her, giving me a mouse eye view of the world. And she is lovely, and by the looks of things, currently shedding her skin. An ambush predator moving near silently across the crunchy leaf litter. One of their favoured prey is the tenrec. It's not just the forest that is spiny here. This mammal also has spines, like a hedgehog. It offered us only a short glimpse before it retreated to a tangle of roots. The last sighting of the day, this cute, camouflaged wolf spider. Tomorrow, time to get in the water.
It's incredibly still. So we're located here on the west coast. There's a reef, we can see it off in the distance where waves are crashing, but between here and there, it's so still. The people of Madagascar are known as the Malagasy, and they're made up of 18 different tribes from across the nation. In this region, there are 2 tribes. It's the fisher people and then the mountain people, more in the inland area. When you start to focus, you can see there's dozens and dozens of dugout canoes that are out in the water. They must be fishing.
Our plan for the morning was scuba diving with a local operator run by a French expat. As we motored out to the reef, it became clearer just how many fishing boats were working the waterways. Wooden canoes with simple log outriggers, others using makeshift sails to access further afield. Here's the reality. The harsh surrounding semi-desert environment and regular drought leads to crop failure and a heavy reliance on fishing. This is not about economic exploitation, it's food insecurity, families needing to catch their daily meal. The surrounding villages are infrastructure poor, so communities are left with few options but to try their luck at sea. placing huge pressure on the reef ecosystem and further depleting the resources from the ocean. Rising sea temperatures in the channel have also caused repeated bleaching events. And as we dived the fringing reef, there were very few large fish, lots of rubble and obvious coral degradation. There have been some encouraging developments with efforts to introduce seaweed farming and some responsible ecotourism. But for the Vazo people, the dominant coastal group, fishing is entrenched as essential to who they are. And as it stands, there remains a reliance on fish as a primary food source. Currently, there are no easy answers.
Few crows. This area are the bed. These are the fishermen. Yeah, the main activity for them is fishing.
Madagascar is a big country, twice the size of Great Britain and almost as big as Texas. With a lot to see and a few weeks to explore, you need to spend a lot of time on the road. There are very few sealed roads. Extreme weather and geography regularly destroy infrastructure, particularly during the wet season. A truck breakdown, a damaged bridge, a landslide can isolate an entire region. It's best to research travel times, double them, get a good book, and enjoy the insight into the local life the sometimes excruciating slower pace provides. Today we are heading northeast along one of the main arterials that intersect the island. Here, roadside workers distilled some local moonshine, and at this bush restroom stop, an ancient tree split by lightning. A young bloke led me to a eucalypt tree. Talk about worlds colliding. Where I climbed a branch for a staring contest with this ostelet chameleon, brilliantly camouflaged on the branches. Their colours change based on mood, their environment, and what signal they're giving off. That pronounced head crest or casque suggests this one's a male. We're heading for the Badlands, the Asalo National Park surrounding Ranahira. This is the land of the Bara people, semi-nomadic zebu cattle herders. The stark and emotive landscape is Jurassic sandstone sculpted into canyons and domes, and is sometimes called the Colorado of Madagascar. Our initial welcoming committee were less than enthused to see us, but performers rehearsing for an upcoming wedding shared their talent and culture. This dance is a coded courtship ritual. Performers gesture, preening and admiring themselves in the mirror, displaying confidence and poise. It's really cheeky and fun.
This is the end of the rainy season, so the weather is changing. We have a traditional, if the bus gets stuck, the women's push.
This is a sacred stone pile. The Bara toss a rock to make a wish or expression of thanks to ancestors.
I didn't make it.
It's a part of how people relate to the land and what has come before them. In Oasis National Park, but out of immediate view of visitors, are traditional Bara burial sites. Placed high on cliffs, hidden ledges, rock-cut chambers, they're intentionally protected from flooding and animals and elevated to be closer to the spiritual world. The environment is stripped back, selective, specialised. Take the scaly reptilian bark of the tapir tree. It chars and cracks instead of burning through when the seasonal fires sweep the landscape. With such low nutrient soil, some plants have evolved to become carnivorous. Succulents resemble roses turned crimson by a relentless sun. These elephant foot plants, like mini baobabs, similarly swell to store water reserves. Keep an eye out for this stick insect, an example of relying on uncanny disappearing acts to stay unseen. Others advertise their danger with bright and conspicuous markings. The painted grasshopper. With their need to be on the move to find food, camouflage is a less effective survival strategy. The idea? Tell the world, I'm toxic, don't eat me. And they really are poisonous. They feed on toxic plants and secrete irritating, foul-smelling chemicals when threatened.
Funny.
Visitors are required to be accompanied by an official local guide in Asalo. They say it's about safety, but also environmental and cultural protection.
But no. In the rainy season, we have the boa, like 2.5 meters.
Today, we hiked about 12 kilometres, and some of it was pretty hard going. Still, Jeremy managed to do it in his thongs, or jandals as he calls them. From bare rock and burnt grass to ferns, water, and cool air on skin. Our hike was abruptly broken up with visits to these most powerful contrasts in the landscape. Oases. These are leakage points in the rock, appearing in narrow gorges and shaded canyons. When it rains here, water seeps into the porous sandstone, trickling slowly through the paths of least resistance and creating these places of respite, survival and sustenance. And where there's water, a concentration of life. The Vero sea fucker, famous for their exceptional leaping in the canopies, and sharing the space, a solitary red-fronted brown lemur, and finally, the famous ring-tailed lemur of Madagascar. These sun-worshipping icons are right up there with Madagascar's most recognisable features, and probably attract more tourism dollars than everything else combined. In the ring-tailed lemur world, it's the females that rule the roost and lead the troops. See these distinctive tails? They're mainly for communication, individual recognition, and signalling movement. Unlike many lemur species, they are comfortable on the ground where they travel in large groups, following those tails like a procession of flags.
their life between those things, as I said before. And allow me to...
Our day finished with a community-based tree planting initiative. Madagascar has lost around 40% of its forest cover in the last half-century, and projects like Soazara, translating it something like shared benefit, focus on long-term stewardship, reducing erosion, protecting biodiversity corridors, and alternatives for fuel wood. There's much more to this story, and we'd love to see you next week for part 2. If you enjoyed part 1, remember to like and share the video. Subscribing is free and helps me grow. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Daw,